executive vice president, had no idea what price lot 7045 would command. Nothing like this had ever been found, much less sold or auctioned, in the 253 years Sotheby's had been in business. But Redden, an unflappable Brit, who has auctioned off everything from Mozart manuscripts to moon rocks, knew that the world would soon know the exact monetary value of the lot described in the Sotheby's catalog as a highly important and virtually complete fossil skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex, popularly known as Sue. Bidding was to begin at $500,000. Watching eagerly from a private room overlooking the standing room-only crowd of 300 on the auction floor, Morris Williams, the Native American who had consigned Sue to Sotheby's, was hoping for at least $1 million. Down on the floor itself, Sue Hendrickson prayed that it wouldn't get much higher than that. She knew that Peter Larson had a representative in the room with limited resources. In the 5½ years since the government had seized the dinosaur from him, Larson had exhausted his emotional and financial resources to get her back. His passion for Sue, he believed, had led to a vendetta by the federal government that put him behind bars for almost 2 years. Unable to attend the auction because he was under home confinement after his recent release from prison, the paleontologist was monitoring the proceedings via telephone. A trio representing Chicago's Field Museum, Richard Gray, John W. MacArthur, Jr., and Peter Crane, was also participating by phone, albeit one almost within shouting distance of Redden. Fearing that competitors' awareness of their interest in Sue might drive up the price, they had slipped unseen into another private room at Sotheby's just before the auction was to begin. They would communicate their bids by hotline to the house's president, Diana D.D. Brooks, who was situated below the podium to Redden's left. Less secretive than the Chicagoans, but equally prepared for the hunt, representatives of several other museums, as well as private foundations and wealthy individuals, sat or stood on the floor, their weapons, small blue auction paddles, poised. The United States government, which also had once laid claim to Sue, would not be bidding by paddle or phone. The government didn't care who in particular made the highest offer, but federal fingers were crossed, hoping that the winner would keep the dinosaur in America. If some private collector or institution from Asia or Europe prevailed and took Sue overseas, Washington would be wiping the egg off its face for years to come. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," Redden began. "We have for auction today the fossil of the T-Rex known as Sue." The auctioneer tilted his head to the right where Sue, or at least her chocolate-brown, 5-foot-long, 600-pound skull, sat on a long white cushion. One of the world's foremost paleontologists, Dr. Robert Bacher, enamored of Sue's charisma, once described her as the Marlene Dietrich of fossils. Sotheby's seemed to be treating her more like Madonna than Marlene, a rock star rather than a chanteuse. Her image was posted on a huge screen above the stage, and a bodyguard stood by her side. Redden took a deep breath, brought his gavel down, and the music began. 1. It must be a T-Rex. $500,000, said Redden. He let the figure roll off his tongue slowly. The surreal nature of the moment hadn't escaped him. The bidding had begun, and he, and a dinosaur named Sue, had entered the kind of Salvador Dali landscape you might expect to find on the Sotheby's auction block. If the tire hadn't gone flat, if the fog hadn't lifted, if the dinosaur hadn't been calling, Sue Hendrickson might never have found her. A Tyrannosaurus rex calling across 7 miles of rugged rock and barren prairie across 67 million years of time? Hendrickson, of all people, can't explain it. "I'm a very analytical person. I don't believe in fate," she says as she checks her mud-spattered gray backpack to make sure that she has everything she needs to go hunting for dinosaurs on a warm, cloudless late summer day in South Dakota. Her eyes as blue as the Great Plains sky, her face as resolute and weathered as the badlands she will soon be traversing, Hendrickson wears the same outfit she wore when she found Sue almost a decade earlier in this same fossil-rich formation: blue jeans, blue work shirt, and brown hiking boots.